Hey everyone, welcome to another recap video. In this weekly recap, I'll be covering my signals, my daily bias, and my intraday analysis callouts for the first week of August. So starting off with Monday's daily bias, I was expecting expansion heading into the New York session. As you guys can see, I expect at least 200 to 250 points added to the current range of overnight inventory, and I gave some condition and levels I had. Now, early on into this day, I was very bullish. As you guys can see, we expanded, and you can see my message from the intraday analysis. I was expecting bullish expansion. I'll be covering more of that later once I get into this channel. But oh yeah, one quick note is I am EST right now. I'm on the East Coast, so the market opens at 9:30 EST. Usually I'm PST, so this is why the times on the Discord is a little bit different now. But as you guys can see, remember what I said. I expected the day to expand 200 to 250 points. Look how much we expanded. 236 points. You guys can see the overnight range. We expanded 236 points above here, and this is where we closed, like an hour later in this area. So that was a pretty good prediction, I'd say. And if you look at the NQ chart, you guys can see Monday was very bullish, as I was talking about. So that was a pretty decent prediction. And now for Tuesday, um, I was very bullish, and I expected ES to expand a lot on its overnight range. So basically, expansion is, I was expecting buy side expansion since I was bullish and expecting expansion. Now, I gave some levels, of course. You guys can see the levels were working pretty well. The first level, 280, got a rejection right before open, and this was, I believe, like 60 points if you caught that with order flow. And as you guys can see, we're very bullish, and you guys can see ES 5x'd its range. As I said, I expected ES to expand. This is like the definition of expansion, so it was a pretty decent call out in my opinion. And we can see how much NQ expanded as well, and how much we traded higher. Now for Wednesday, Wednesday was definitely like a crazy day for my bias because I expected NQ, as I said. I am only bullish if NQ can sustain value above 30,090, but I think if price can't auction here, it's likely we have a bullish manipulation between 30,070 and 30,090. A bullish manipulation is a market manipulating one direction and then displacing in the other direction, like PO3 if you trade ICT. It's like a very basic price action concept. And we can see right at 30,070, right where I said it would manipulate, this is exactly where we made high of day. And that's also, I also said this will likely form high of week if we have this manipulation. And guess what happened? It ended up being high of week. The market traded lower for the rest of the week. That was the highest we went. And there's also some other levels I gave, which worked out pretty well, but I'll be covering that more in the other channel. And now for Thursday, right at open. Oh yeah, also I did say on Wednesday the volatility was rising, showing fear entering the market, so I was bearish as well. And we can see how bearish we were on Wednesday. Like fear entering the market means obviously investors are buying more puts, and that's gonna like push the market lower most likely. Now for Thursday, um, I was bearish on Thursday. I was expecting NQ. Fuck. Yeah, right here. I was bearish on Thursday. I was expecting NQ to like pump at open, manipulate higher, and then dump. And that's exactly what happened. As you guys can see, we pumped at open Thursday, and we dumped 100 points. We ended up pumping after, so we had like a double manipulation. But luckily in the analysis channel, I kind of called out like the pump up. I said if buyers can auction between this level, we're probably gonna be super bullish, and I'll be covering that in another channel. But we can kind of see the level was once again like 330, 340, they bottom tick this in pre-market. So all the levels I gave on the daily bias analysis is very accurate, and obviously you want to trade it with order flow, but it still works pretty well. And obviously some of my other analysis I gave, like if buyers can hold above 490, 500, and we can see how 490 got held above by buyers, and we were like super bullish after. If you look at the chart on Thursday, we can kind of see 490, 500 is right here. We can kind of see after buyers were able to hold above 490, we pumped up like almost 200 points. So that was another good call I gave. And I'll be covering that later, obviously. Now for Friday I was very neutral. I was expecting a lot of chop today, mainly because of the news and the the volatility being compressed. So I basically told my students like today's a day you don't really want to like risk too much. You're probably gonna be like shopping, having like a lot of accumulation. Not really a great day for trading. And guess what happened? Like look at the price action today. We accumulated the whole day. We had no expansion. You guys can see the overnight range with Asia and London was here to here. We stayed inside the range the whole day on NQ today. So that was a pretty spot on prediction. If you try to trade today, you kind of got chopped up probably unless you traded my levels. And we can kind of see my level. The only level I had today was 640 to 660. And you guys can see how the level kind of held up. It initially acted as very strong support. And then finally the market was able to break back above it and it became support again. And then we grounded higher. So, and also I did say in the bias, I expected the market to mean revert on buy side, not sell side. I said if sellers can find value back in the previous balance, we could drift lower, but I find this less likely. So that was also a prediction that came true. Now I'm gonna be covering the good stuff I gave this week. There's a ton of stuff here, and my students made a lot of money this week based on the callouts alone. Let's start off with Monday. Now for Monday, basically I said if the market can auction between 385 and 395, I'd be bearish. But the market did dump past the level, but the move below was thin liquidity. It was like a real move. Sellers weren't really, being aggressive and holding value below here. So this made me very skeptical about this, and I ended up being bullish, very, very quickly. And I said right here actually, if buyers can hold value above 530 to 540 at 944, granted, this is 14 minutes after the market opened. I said if buyers can hold value above 530 and 540, I'll be very bullish due to the low selling initiative post open, except prices near 385 to 395, my key level once again for my daily bias. And guess what happened? Look at 530 and 540. Initially, it was very strong resistance. Buyers could not get past the level. They got absorbed several times. But once buyers were finally able to accept higher, it became support, and then we grinded higher the rest of the day. You guys remember Monday, we ended up trading on buy side the whole day. Buyers were in control for like the whole session. And you guys can see where was it? What was the level again? 530, 540. We can kind of see the level ended up being massive support for the move higher. And if you guys took my call out at that level, like it was like 400 points if you guys held. But now I did say I had 697 QQ being high of day unless my data updates, because for my options positioning, most of my QQ levels is based on implied volatility, dealer positioning, and how their books are adjusted. And obviously this updates 24/7 every second during the day, because obviously more people are buying puts, more people are selling calls, so vice versa. So basically I was bullish until this level got hit. And I had this level as very strong resistance. Now my data did update. I did say my data updated a little bit, but still the level ended up being high resistance. When you kind of see the level 697, price struggled to get past the level, and it ended up being very strong resistance. But I also said, keep in mind this nuance. If the level breaks 697 QQ, I envision NQ grinding up higher until the end of day close. So level breaks, I'm going to be really bullish. That's kind of what I'm saying, as you guys can see. Now, what happened? Well, after 697 broke, we grinded up the whole day. We went up another QQQ dollars. $3 on QQQ is roughly 120 plus NQ points. So if you guys took the breakout of this level and longed, you would have banked on over 100 NQ points based on this analysis. So I think that's pretty spot on. Now for Tuesday, obviously Tuesday is a day where I believe we pumped this day. Let's see. Yeah, Tuesday was a day I was really bullish. Now, keep in mind, I was bullish on Tuesday in my daily bias. I told everyone in the server I expected the market to pump higher. Now I said, pay attention to 410 and 415. If buyers can't hold up the market above here, we could get a sizable retrace. But as long as price is above 410 and 415 NQ, I am bullish. And we can see, where is 410, 415 on NQ? We can see it's right here. We can kind of see the sellers, they try to push price lower, but they only got it 425. They couldn't even auction at 410 and 415, let alone accept value below the level. They couldn't even get the market down to 415. So I was very bullish, as you guys can see. Price gonna hit the level, we pumped up. yeah, like 500 points. So you guys can see how this could have like affected your bias. Obviously, if you're in longs, you're kind of counting on me for like how long do I hold. A lot of people often ask me if they're in a position like should I close, should I wait, and my analysis kind of like answers those questions so you guys can make way more money on your trades. And obviously, all my analysis is based on like quantitative data and statistics. It's not based on guessing, and that's how I'm accurate so often. Um, Now, also, I did say here that the market was already so like overextended. We're probably gonna start mean reverting, and as you guys can see, right after I said this, we started mean reverting. So that was a decent prediction. Obviously, we like went higher, but still, it was a decent call out. Now for Wednesday, as you guys can see, Wednesday is a day where I was bearish. I said that volatility is rising, showing fear is entering the market. Basically, when implied volatility goes up, typically fear is entering the market. More people buying puts, more people buying protection, and people are pricing in, or the market's priced in like greater volatility. And when this happens, typically we end up being somewhat bearish. And that's what happened. We had the bullish manipulation at 30,070 as I predicted. And basically, what I was saying is if the market can hold below 29,980, I'll be very bearish. And I think the day is going to like grind lower. Let's take a look at the NQ chart on Wednesday. Let's see what happened. What was 29,980? We can kind of see 29,980 is right here. We can kind of see this level, it struggled to break. Sellers were trying to break past the level, but they struggled. But once the level finally broke, we dumped lower and we dumped for the rest of the day. And we can see after, from the level alone, if we got the whole move, it was like 500 points. And I told everyone to hold. I told everyone I expected the market to expand lower, as you guys can see from here. Um, Also, like the market was chopping a lot above here. Like in this area, we were chopping a lot. So I told people to wait for confirmation. It saved a lot of people's money. Um, but yeah, so yeah, as you can see, around the level broke, we dumped 60 points instantly. Um, and obviously there was a lot of chop. But I told the server why. It was because we had a very strong QEQ level at 725 QEQ. It was the highest the highest open interest concentration. So it was massive support before the level finally broke with our sellers accepting below it. But once this happened, we ended up dumping. And also, I said here, keep in mind this is 10:39, this is EST. So an hour and 9 minutes after the market opened, an hour and 9 minutes is right here. So so it's gonna be 7:39. So yeah, right here is 7:39. We're like right here. I said if you guys got a good fill, I would hold. The market has room for expansion beyond its current range as long as sellers can hold below 29,980. So basically, I was saying to hold your shorts unless the market comes back to a level, and we can see we never came back to a level, and we dumped for the rest of the day. Now I want to talk about something else. After this, I said pay attention to 29,090. I mean 29,900, because keep in mind if you're in shorts, you want to be able to trail your stop. You don't want to be at break even the whole time, because whether the market goes back up, you want to secure profits. So I told everyone if the market can auction at 29,900, we're likely to get a massive retrace. But at the same time, we want sellers to hold below 29,900, meaning if the market comes back to 29,900, I expect sellers to be active. And if they can be active, I expect this to be another, like entry point. And as you guys can see, right at the money, right at 20,900, we have the retrace, and then we dump lower. And this was actually a trade I took myself, and I called it out on the server, like 20 minutes before it happened, so everyone on the server could obviously take the same like possible trade setup. And also, I said here we're approaching the bottom of overnight inventory. If sellers can accept at the bottom of it, I expect to move lower, probably another 100 points. And we can see we have to that move lower another 100 points. So actually, it was 200 points, but still, you guys can see how if you're in shorts, for my bias alone, you would want to hold the shorts way longer, because I was telling everyone I expect bearish expansion, and I expect the market to trade lower. And this is what happened. Like every single day so far, I've been generally correct. Okay, now this is Thursday. Let's take a look at the charts. Yeah, this was a day I ended up being bullish. So obviously this was a day I was bearish at open. We can kind of see in my bias, you guys remember, I said at open we would manipulate higher and then we trade lower. This is exactly what happened. But we had a really good rejection at a very strong support level at like 240. So at this point, I was kind of like, being skeptical about about being bearish. And I said after 7 minutes after open, pay attention to 490, 500. If buyers can accept value here, it's likely we will trade higher. It's also a good place for sellers to regain control. But if sellers can't regain control, we're probably gonna push higher. 490, 500 is right here. We can kind of see buyers, they're able to auction higher. They retest 490. Buyers staying in control. Sellers cannot push the market under like 490 really, and we kind of see this become strong support. The level, sellers try to break 490 many times, so they can't. And guess what happens after 490 holds? We grind it up another almost 200 points, right? And yeah, rejection right at 490, as I kind of said. Pay attention to my key levels. But yeah, also I was like, this is why it's going to be versatile because obviously I was bearish initially at open. Obviously my bias was correct at open. We did get that good scalps or shorts, but I also did flip my bias to bullish like 5 minutes after because obviously other conditions the market gave me, and obviously I was correct. So this was a good kind of read. And also, I was kind of saying for the bullish, I was expecting a big move up. So I was saying 72 QQQ is a very strong level, and I would personally take profit there for most of my position. Now, obviously, I was closing partials along the way, and we can see right here. I told everyone I'm closing a few minis here because buyers they gave up 600. This isn't ideal, but nothing to worry about yet. But now, if you go lower in my analysis, this was a day I did call it high of day. So in the server, I said at like 10:55 EST. This is an hour and 25 minutes after market open. 718, 719 QQ is a Vanna flip. It's a very strong support and resistance level, and we can see 8 minutes after I sent this, the market rejected right at 719 QQ, and this ended up being high of day on NQ. This was high of day on Thursday. Um, but yeah, so I called that level out, and I said here, I closed most of my position due to the price action, and I didn't like how we rejected at the really very strong resistance. We couldn't like accept higher, and ES broke to the downside. So I was kind of like I closed most of my longs, but I still held a couple minis in case the market traded higher. And then obviously the max target didn't get hit, but at the same time, most of the position I closed, and a lot of people definitely got good longs off of this, and I could take profit. Now, obviously, this is a Friday, so Friday this is a day I expected a lot of chop. As a result, I didn't have much analysis because I didn't really want to trade this day. I was really risk off, and obviously this was a good idea because keep in mind, like, what did we do on Friday? We stay in the range the whole day. We really didn't even have anything to really analyze, so it's a decent prediction. But also, I had 725 QQ being very strong resistance. It was a very strong level, and I gave a signal off this level in the server. We can see right here, I'm considering limiting 29,917 NQ. This is right at 725 QQQ. And this level, it didn't get tapped, but it got tapped on ES. So like ES, it top ticked ES basically high of day, but NQ didn't get tapped. So students, like we would have made a lot of money on this signal I gave, but unfortunately didn't get tapped. But I should have some signals next week. Hopefully, I'll try to lock in on that. But I'll see you guys next week.